3 days after Nari opened her eyes, the Velthari Medical Board arrived at Earthborn Veterinary Care. There were 5 of them, tall, crystalline beings whose lights pulsed with irritation. Chief Physician Ralvek led them. He looked at the small clinic with what might have been disgust. "We have received reports," Ralvek announced, "that a human female declared terminal by our facility is now alive. This is concerning." Taeyang stood in the doorway. He'd barely slept in 3 days, monitoring Nari's recovery and treating a sudden influx of other patients. Humans who'd never trusted alien medicine now wanted checkups, minor issues they'd been ignoring because they feared Velthari treatment. "Concerning that she's alive?" Taeyang asked. "Concerning that our diagnosis was incorrect," Ralvek corrected. "The Velthari Medical Complex has a reputation for accuracy. We do not make mistakes." "You didn't make a mistake about her dying," Taeyang said. "Your treatment was killing her. I just stopped it and fixed the damage." The lights in Ralvek's body flared brighter. "Impossible. Velthari medicine is the most advanced in the galaxy. Your animal care techniques cannot be superior." "I didn't say superior. I said compatible. Human biology doesn't respond to quantum manipulation. It responds to chemistry, mechanical repair, and time. We demand to inspect your facility," another board member said. "You may be using illegal technology, or perhaps you misrepresented the patient's condition for publicity." Yuna, standing behind Taeyang, made an angry sound, but Taeyang stayed calm. "Inspect whatever you want," he said, stepping aside. The Velthari entered the clinic. They examined every piece of equipment with their scanners. They looked at the surgery table, the blood storage unit, the basic monitors, the shelves of antibiotics and medications. They found nothing illegal, nothing even advanced. "This equipment is primitive," Ralvek said. He sounded offended by its mere existence. "It's designed for Earth-based life," Taeyang replied. "Dogs, cats, horses, and yes, humans. All carbon-based mammals with similar biological structures." "Where is the patient?" Nari was in the recovery room, sitting up in bed. She'd been eating solid food that morning. Her color had returned. The cellular damage had stabilized at 15% of her body's cells. A permanent change, but not life-threatening. When the Velthari saw her, their lights dimmed in what Taeyang had learned to recognize as shock. "Impossible," Ralvek whispered. "She was terminal. Cellular degradation was irreversible." "It was reversible," Taeyang said. "Once I stopped your treatment and started one appropriate for human biology." "You are saying our medicine harmed her?" "I'm saying your medicine isn't designed for humans. It's not your fault. You can't create treatments for every species in the galaxy. But you also can't claim universal superiority when you can only treat species with certain biological traits." The Velthari conferred among themselves in flashing light patterns, their language unspoken and beautiful. Finally, Ralvek turned back to Taeyang. "The Galactic Medical Council will hear of this. If your claims are true, it challenges the foundation of modern medicine." "My claims are walking around and eating breakfast," Taeyang said, nodding toward Nari. The Velthari left. But Taeyang knew this wasn't over. He was right. 2 weeks later, he received a summons to appear before the Galactic Medical Council. The message was formal, written in 3 languages, and absolutely terrifying. "They're going to shut you down," Yuna said, reading over his shoulder. "Maybe," Taeyang admitted. "Or maybe they'll just fine me for practicing medicine without proper certification." "You saved her life." "I know. But I also challenged their authority. To advance species, that's worse than being wrong." Hyunwoo had other concerns. He'd been digging through galactic databases, looking at medical records and financial statements. What he found made him angry. "The Galactic Medical Consortium holds patents on all major medical technologies," he told Taeyang. "They charge enormous licensing fees, billions of credits per year. Species that can't pay or don't respond to the treatment are just written off. So there's a financial incentive to maintain the current system," Taeyang said. "Exactly. If your method spreads, if other species start developing their own compatible treatments, the consortium loses money. A lot of money." The day of the council hearing arrived. Taeyang wore his best clothes, which still looked shabby compared to the finery of galactic dignitaries. The council chamber was enormous, designed to hold representatives from 50 different species. Ralvek was there, along with the Velthari Medical Board. But so were others. Krix physicians with their multifaceted eyes, Lumith medical experts who existed as pure energy and containment fields, Sornathi healers in massive water tanks, The head of the council was a being Taiyang didn't recognize. Ancient, massive, with skin like stone and eyes that had seen millennia. Dr. Taiyang of Earth, the council head said in a voice that rumbled. You have been called to answer questions regarding your treatment of a human female using unauthorized methods. Unauthorized by whom? Taiyang asked. His voice shook only a little. By the Galactic Medical Standards Committee. Your techniques have not been reviewed or approved for sentient species. Treatment. They're approved for animal. Treatment on Earth. Humans are animals from Earth. The biology is the same, murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some species considered it insulting for humans to call themselves animals. Others found it amusing. The patient was declared terminal by Velthari physicians, the council head continued, yet you claim to have saved her. Chief Physician Ralvek has suggested you may have misrepresented her condition or used illegal technology. How do you respond? Taiyang took a deep breath. I respond by challenging this council to bring me more patients. Give me the ones you've given up on, the ones whose biology doesn't fit your treatment models. Let me try to save them. If I fail, prosecute me. If I succeed, maybe reconsider your assumptions about primitive medicine. The chamber erupted. Dozens of species talking at once, their translators creating a cacophony of sound. Ralvek's lights flared bright. This is absurd. You cannot simply— I accept, a new voice interrupted. A Dravik stepped forward from the gallery. He was old, his scales gray and cracked. My daughter has chronic pain that your quantum treatments cannot touch. She has suffered for 3 years. If this human can help her, I authorize him to try. Another voice joined. My son has a degenerative condition. You told me to let him die with dignity. I would rather let him live with hope. More voices, more species. The ones the galaxy had written off now stepping forward. The council head raised a massive hand for silence. It seems, Dr. Taiyang, that you have volunteered for an unusual challenge. We will provide test cases. Patients who have been declared untreatable by standard galactic medicine. You will attempt to help them using your veterinary techniques. The results will determine if your methods have merit, or if they're just lucky flukes with one patient, Ralvek added coldly. Taiyang looked at the patients stepping forward, at their families, at the hope in their eyes that someone, anyone, might try when everyone else had quit. He thought about Nari, laughing in his clinic that morning, about the golden retriever whose leg had healed perfectly, about every animal he'd ever treated, each one different, each one requiring individual care. I'll do it, he said, but I'll need help. Other human doctors, veterinarians especially, people who understand that different biology requires different treatment. Granted, the council head said, you have 6 months. Succeed or fail, the galaxy will know the truth about Earth medicine. As Taiyang left the chamber, Hyunwoo caught up to him. You just challenged the entire galactic medical establishment, Hyunwoo said. I know. They're going to make this as hard as possible, give you impossible cases, set you up to fail. Probably, so why did you agree? Taiyang looked back at the chamber, where families were gathered around their sick loved ones, where hope had appeared for the first time in years. Because, he said, on Earth we learned something the galaxy forgot. Every life deserves a chance, even the ones that don't fit the standard template. The transit tube shot through the station at incredible speed. Through the transparent walls, Hyunwoo could see the vastness of the galactic hub. Ships from 100 different worlds docked at ports that stretched for kilometers. Markets sold goods from across the known universe. This was the center of galactic civilization, and it had thrown Nari away like garbage. He held her tighter as the tube curved toward Sector 7. Her breathing was so shallow now. Sometimes several seconds passed between breaths. The makeshift bandages were soaked through with blood. A Krix passenger moved away from them, its antenna twitching in disgust. A group of Lumith flickered with colors that Hyunwoo's translator couldn't interpret, but their tone felt mocking. To most species in the galaxy, humans were newcomers, barely civilized. They'd only achieved faster-than-light travel 20 years ago, stumbling into a galactic community that had existed for millennia. Humans were classified as Category 4 intelligence, smart enough to use tools and form governments, but lacking the sophistication of truly advanced species. Most aliens saw them as curious novelties at best, potential hazards at worst. The tube stopped at Sector 7. This part of the station was older, less polished. The walls showed wear. The lighting was dimmer. This was where the less important businesses operated, where species without wealth or influence made their livings. Hyunwoo checked his communicator for directions. The veterinary clinic was 3 levels down, tucked between a human restaurant and a shop that sold earth plants to homesick colonists. He took the stairs because they were faster than waiting for the lift. His arms burned from carrying Nari, but he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Every second mattered now. The sign above the door showed text in both Galactic Standard and Korean. Earthborn Veterinary Care. Through the window, Hyunwoo could see a waiting area with chairs sized for humans. Posters on the wall showed Earth animals. Dogs, cats, birds, rabbits. It looked so normal, so much like home, that for a moment Hyunwoo felt tears burn his eyes. He kicked the door open since his hands were full. Inside, a man in a white coat was examining a golden retriever on a metal table. The dog had its front leg wrapped in bandages. Its owner, an older human woman, stood nearby looking worried. The man in the white coat looked up. He was young, maybe 30, with tired eyes and hands that moved with practiced precision. Dr. Tae Yang, according to his name tag. "I'm with a patient," Tae Yang said. "If you need to make an appointment, she's dying," Hyunwoo interrupted. He laid Nari on the nearest surface, a padded bench meant for waiting pet owners. The Velthari gave up on her, said human biology is too primitive for their medicine. She has maybe an hour left. Tae Yang stared at him. "This is a veterinary clinic. I treat animals, not people." "I know what it is." Hyunwoo's voice was desperate now. "But you know human biology, right? Better than any alien physician. You understand how Earth mammals work. You have equipment designed for Earth-based life. That doesn't mean—" "Please." Hyunwoo grabbed Tae Yang's arm. "The galaxy sees us as animals anyway. We're Category 4 intelligence. Barely sentient to them. So why not treat her like you'd treat any Earth creature? She's dying because their advanced medicine doesn't work on primitive species like us. Maybe primitive medicine is exactly what she needs." The words hung in the air. Tae Yang looked at Nari. Her face was almost white now. Blood had started to seep from her nose. The woman with the golden retriever gasped and covered her mouth. Tae Yang's jaw clenched. Hyunwoo could see the war happening behind his eyes. This wasn't what he'd signed up for. He'd opened this clinic to help humans who missed their pets from Earth, who'd brought their companions across the stars. He treated sprained paws and upset stomachs and minor infections. Not dying humans, but then Tae Yang moved. Fast, with the decisiveness of someone who'd made an impossible choice. "Yuna," he called toward the back room. "I need you out here now and bring the emergency kit." A young woman rushed out. She was small, with quick movements and alert eyes. When she saw Nari, she froze. "Is that a human patient?" "Yes," Tae Yang said. He was already pulling on fresh gloves. "Get her on the examination table, carefully. I need to see what we're working with." They moved Nari to the same table where the golden retriever had been moments before. The dog's owner quickly picked up her pet and moved to the corner, watching with wide eyes. Tae Yang cut away the blood-soaked bandages. Hyunwoo had seen the injuries before, but they looked worse now. Worse than they had even an hour ago. "The Velthari tried to treat her?" Tae Yang asked. "For 2 hours. What did they use?" "I don't know. Some kind of quantum technique. Ralvek said human cells don't respond to it properly." Tae Yang cursed under his breath. He pulled out a handheld scanner, the kind vets used to check for broken bones in animals. It was primitive compared to the Velthari's floating spheres of light, but it was designed for Earth biology. "Her cellular structure is destabilizing," Tae Yang said, studying the readout. "It's like her cells are falling apart from the inside. This isn't just from the accident injuries." "What does that mean?" "It means the Velthari treatment did this. Their quantum manipulation broke down her cellular bonds. They didn't just fail to help her. They poisoned her." Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. The best medical facility in the sector had made Nari worse, had killed her faster while claiming to try to save her. Yuna had hooked up monitors. Primitive ones designed for large animals like dogs or cats, but they worked. Numbers appeared on screens. Heart rate, blood oxygen, blood pressure. All of them were dangerously low. "Can you save her?" Hyunwoo asked. Tae Yang didn't answer right away. He was looking at the injuries, at the monitor readings, at the scan results, calculating odds that Hyunwoo was terrified to hear. "Maybe," Tae Yang finally said. "The cellular damage is the immediate threat. If I can stabilize that, her body might be able to repair itself. Humans are good at that. We heal from things that would kill other species." "What do you need to do?" Blood transfusion first. Get fresh, stable cells into her system. Then antibiotics to prevent infection. Surgery to repair the physical damage from the accident. And hope, a lot of hope. Tae-yang looked at Hyunwoo directly. This is going to take all night. I might fail. If I do, she dies here instead of in that comfort area. Are you sure you want me to try? Hyunwoo didn't hesitate. She dies fighting or she dies waiting. I choose fighting. Yuna, check his blood type, Tae-yang ordered. If he's compatible, we'll use him as the donor. Also, send out a message on the human network. We need more blood, medical supplies, anything anyone can spare. On it, Yuna said, already moving. Tae-yang rolled up his sleeves. All right, Nari, he said softly to the unconscious woman. Let's see if primitive medicine can do what advanced medicine couldn't. He picked up a scalpel. It was a simple tool, sharp metal on a handle. Nothing quantum or crystalline or sophisticated about it. Sometimes, Hyunwoo thought, simple was exactly what you needed. The surgery began. The first hour was the worst. Tae-yang worked with hands that never shook, even though sweat dripped down his face. Yuna stood beside him, passing instruments and monitoring Nari's vital signs. Hyunwoo sat in the corner with a needle in his arm. His blood flowed through a tube into a bag. He was type O-negative universal donor. Lucky, or maybe fate. He watched his blood drip slowly, knowing each drop was a chance for Nari to survive. The clinic's door chimed. More humans entered. Word had spread fast through the settlement. They came with supplies scavenged from their quarters. Bandages, antibiotics, pain medication. One woman brought 3 more bags of blood she'd had stored for emergencies. A man arrived with a portable oxygen tank. The human network is responding, one of them whispered to Hyunwoo. Everyone wants to help. They filled the small waiting room. Some sat in chairs. Others stood against walls. The woman with the golden retriever had stayed too. Her dog lay quietly at her feet, as if sensing the importance of what was happening. No one spoke above a whisper. They all watched Tae-yang work. He'd opened Nari's abdomen. The injuries from the accident were severe. A piece of metal had punctured her liver. Another had torn through her intestines. Internal bleeding had filled her body cavity. But worse than the physical damage was what Hyunwoo had called the cellular degradation. Under Tae-yang's microscope, Nari's cells looked wrong. Their walls were breaking down. Their structures were collapsing. The Velthari treatment disrupted the atomic bonds, Tae-yang explained quietly as he worked. Their quantum manipulation works by reorganizing matter at the subatomic level. For species whose cells naturally operate on quantum principles, it's miraculous. For humans whose biology is purely chemical and mechanical, it's destructive. He injected something into Nari's bloodstream. This is a cellular stabilizer. We use it for animals that have been poisoned. It won't fix the damage, but it should stop it from getting worse. Yuna changed the blood bag. Fresh blood flowed into Nari's veins. Blood that hadn't been damaged by alien technology. Blood that remembered how human cells were supposed to work. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Then 2. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the numbers on the monitor changed. Heart rate increased from 40 beats per minute to 50, then 55. Blood pressure rose from dangerously low to merely concerning. Oxygen levels climbed. It's working, Yuna breathed. Tae-yang didn't celebrate. He just kept working, stitching torn tissue, cauterizing bleeding vessels, repairing damage piece by piece with nothing more advanced than needle, thread, and steady hands. This was medicine the way humans had practiced it for centuries. No quantum manipulation, no crystalline instruments, just knowledge of anatomy, understanding of biology, and the fundamental belief that bodies wanted to heal themselves if given the chance. At 3 a.m. station time, Tae-yang finally stepped back from the table. The surgery is done, he said. His voice was hoarse. I've repaired the physical damage. The cellular stabilization seems to be holding. Now we wait and see if her body can recover. He looked at the humans crowded into his clinic. She needs rest, quiet, and continued monitoring. Some of you should go home. No one moved. We'll take shifts, Hyunwoo said. He'd given 2 full bags of blood and felt lightheaded, but he wouldn't leave. Some of us will stay while others rest. But someone will be here with her all night, every night until she wakes up. Tae-yang nodded. He understood. This wasn't just about Nari anymore. This was about all of them. Every human on this station who'd been looked down on, dismissed, treated as inferior by species that considered themselves advanced. Yuna cleaned Nari's face with a warm cloth. She combed her hair. Someone brought a blanket from home, soft and worn, and tucked it around her, small acts of care that no Velthari physician would have thought to provide. Hyunwoo moved to sit beside Nari's bed. He took her hand. It wasn't as cold anymore. There's something you should know, Taeyang said quietly. The cellular damage from the Velthari treatment. I stopped it from spreading, but I couldn't completely reverse it. She's going to have some permanent changes at the cellular level. What kind of changes? I don't know yet. Might be nothing. Might be something significant. We'll have to watch her carefully as she heals. It was a price, Hyunwoo thought. A scar from Galactic Medicine's failure. But alive with scars was better than dead and perfect. Dawn came to the Galactic Hub. The station never truly slept, but lighting cycles mimicked day and night for the comfort of species that needed such rhythms. As artificial sunlight began to fill the clinic's windows, Nari's eyelids fluttered. Everyone leaned forward. Her eyes opened. Brown and confused and beautifully alive, where? She whispered. Her voice was barely audible. You're safe, Hyunwoo said. Tears ran down his face. You're at a veterinary clinic in Sector 7. A vet? She tried to smile. Did I grow a tail? Laughter rippled through the room. Weak, exhausted laughter, but real. Taeyang checked her vitals again. How do you feel? Like I got hit by a cargo hauler, Nari said. But alive. I feel alive. She looked around the clinic. At the posters of Earth animals. At the examination table built for dogs and cats. At the simple, primitive equipment that had saved her life when the galaxy's most advanced technology had failed. The Velthari couldn't help me, she said. It wasn't a question. They tried, Hyunwoo said. But their medicine doesn't work on humans. So I brought you here. To an animal clinic. To someone who understands Earth biology. To someone who didn't give up. Nari squeezed his hand. Then she looked at Taeyang. Thank you, Taeyang shook his head. Thank your friend. He's the one who refused to accept defeat. I just did what any vet would do. Treated a patient who needed help. Outside the clinic, the Galactic Hub continued its business. Thousands of species going about their advanced lives. But inside this small veterinary office, something had changed. A human woman had been declared untreatable by the galaxy's best physicians. She'd been left to die. And primitive human medicine, the kind used on animals, had brought her back from the edge. The woman with the golden retriever stood. I'm going to tell everyone what happened here. Every human on this station needs to know. Others nodded. They pulled out their communicators. Messages began to spread through the human network. The galaxy had given up on Nari because she didn't fit their template. Because human biology was too different, too primitive, too incompatible with their advanced techniques. But humans had never needed to fit the galaxy's template. They'd survived Earth, where thousands of different species evolved side by side. They'd learned to care for life in all its diverse forms. And now that diversity of knowledge, that veterinary understanding that different creatures needed different care, had saved one of their own. Taeyang looked at the growing crowd of humans in his clinic. At Nari, alive despite all odds. At the primitive equipment that had succeeded where quantum technology had failed. He'd opened this clinic to treat pets. To help homesick colonists care for their animal companions. He'd never imagined it would become something more. But as more messages flooded in, as more humans asked questions about what had happened, Taeyang realized something. This was just the beginning. The corridors of the Velthari medical complex gleamed like polished diamonds. Every surface reflected light in ways that hurt human eyes. Hyunwoo didn't care about the beauty. He only cared about the woman in his arms. Nari's breathing came in short, painful gasps. Blood seeped through the emergency bandages he'd wrapped around her torso. Her face had gone pale, almost gray. 3 hours ago, she'd been laughing at his joke about the station's terrible coffee. Now she might be dying. Please, Hyunwoo said to the tall crystalline being at the reception desk. She needs help now. The Velthari receptionist looked down at them. Its body was made of something that looked like living glass, with light pulsing through its core. It tilted its head in a way that seemed both curious and dismissive. Bring the human to examination room 7, it said in a voice like wind chimes. A physician will see her shortly. Shortly turned into 20 minutes. Hyunwoo sat in the waiting area, holding Nari's hand. Her grip was weak. Around them, other patients waited. A Crix with broken antenna segments, a Lumith whose energy field flickered unstably, a Sornathi in a water tank. its gills moving slowly. All of them were called before Nari. When they finally took her back, Hyunwoo followed. The examination room was massive, designed for species of all sizes. The medical equipment looked nothing like Earth technology. Floating spheres of light scanned Nari's body. Crystalline instruments extended from the walls on impossibly thin arms. Chief Physician Ralvek entered the room. He was even taller than the receptionist. His crystalline body shot through with veins of purple light. He moved with the confidence of someone who had saved thousands of lives. The human female has suffered severe internal trauma, Ralvek said, studying the holographic display above Nari's body. The accident damaged multiple organs. There is also cellular degradation occurring at an accelerated rate. Can you fix it? Hyunwoo asked. His voice cracked. Ralvek's lights pulsed in a pattern Hyunwoo had learned meant uncertainty. We will attempt treatment. Please wait outside. The next 2 hours were the longest of Hyunwoo's life. He paced the waiting area. He tried to read the galactic standard displays, but the words blurred together. Other humans from the settlement arrived. They'd heard about the accident. They sat with him in silence. When Ralvek finally emerged, his lights had dimmed. That wasn't a good sign. We cannot treat her, the physician said simply. What? Hyunwoo stood so fast his chair fell over. What do you mean you can't treat her? This is the best medical facility in the sector. The best for species with quantum-responsive cellular structures, Ralvek corrected. Human biology is problematic. Your cells do not respond to our techniques. In fact, our treatment appears to have accelerated the degradation. We have made her condition worse. The words hit Hyunwoo like a physical blow. Then try something else. There has to be something you can do. Human medicine is primitive, Ralvek said. There was no malice in his voice, just statement of fact. You are a young species. Your medical knowledge is limited. We have techniques that are thousands of years more advanced, but they require biological compatibility. Humans lack this compatibility. So what, you're just giving up? Hyunwoo's hands clenched into fists. We are being realistic. The female's condition is terminal. We have prepared a comfort area for her final hours. She will feel no pain. 2 Velthari attendants brought Nari out on a floating stretcher. She was unconscious now. The monitors attached to her showed numbers that Hyunwoo didn't understand, but they were all colored red. Red was bad in any language. They took her to what Ralvek had called the comfort area. It was outside the main medical complex, a space with metal benches and harsh lighting. A place where people came to die quietly, away from the important work of healing those who could actually be saved. 3 other beings were already there. An elderly Dravik, its scales dulled with age and illness. A young Horoth, barely more than a child. Its parent sitting beside it with eyes that held no more tears. And a Crix alone, its antenna hanging limp. They were the rejects. The ones that galactic medicine had given up on. Hyunwoo sat on the bench beside Nari's stretcher. He held her hand again. It was so cold now. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry, Nari. She didn't respond. The monitor showed her heartbeat slowing, becoming irregular. Around them, the galactic hub station continued its business. Ships docked and departed. Thousands of species went about their lives. Advanced civilizations with technology beyond Earth's wildest dreams. And here in this cold waiting area, they left their failures to die. Hyunwoo looked at the other patients. The Dravik had stopped breathing an hour ago, but no one had come to move the body. The Horoth child whimpered softly while its parent sang something in a language Hyunwoo didn't know. The Crick simply stared at nothing. This was what happened to species the galaxy considered lesser. When their biology didn't fit the standard template, when the advanced medicine couldn't calibrate properly, they were discarded, declared hopeless, left outside with nothing. Rage burned in Hyunwoo's chest. He refused to accept this. He refused to let Nari become another rejected case, another failed treatment, another primitive species that didn't fit the mold. He looked at his communicator. The station directory glowed on the screen. He scrolled through options, searching for anything, any possibility he might have missed. Then he saw it. A small listing in Sector 7. Earthborn Veterinary Care, Dr. Tae Yang, DVM, a veterinary clinic. For animals. The idea that formed in Hyunwoo's mind was insane. Desperate. Probably illegal. But Nari had maybe 2 hours left, and the best medical minds in the galaxy had already given up on her. What did he have to lose? He disconnected the monitor from Nari's stretcher. Alarms didn't even sound. No one cared enough to set them. He lifted her carefully, cradling her like he had when he'd first found her in the wreckage of the industrial accident. "Where are you going?" the Horoth parent asked in broken galactic standard. "To find someone who won't give up," Hyunwoo said. He carried Nari toward the transit tubes, toward Sector 7, toward a veterinary clinic and a hope so slim it barely existed. Behind him, the comfort area sat in its harsh light, waiting for its next reject. The galaxy had declared Nari untreatable. But Hyunwoo knew something the galaxy had forgotten. On Earth, humans had learned to care for thousands of different species. They'd developed medicine for creatures as different as elephants and hummingbirds, whales and mice. If anyone understood that different biology needed different treatment, it was humans. And if the galaxy saw humans as barely better than animals anyway, maybe that was about to become their greatest advantage. The first patient arrived 2 days later. Her name was Sora, a Dravik child with scales that should have shimmered blue but instead looked dull and gray. She was 8 years old in Earth years, and she'd been in pain for half her life. Her father, Dal, carried her into the clinic that Tae-yang had hastily expanded. Other human doctors had arrived on emergency shuttles from Earth's colonies. Veterinarians mostly, people who understood animal biology. They'd set up additional examination rooms, brought equipment, and prepared for what everyone knew would be a battle. "The pain is in her joints," Dal explained. His own scales were gray with age and worry. Velthari physicians tried quantum joint reconstruction. It made the pain worse. They said her nervous system is incompatible with pain management treatments, that she should simply endure. Tae-yang examined Sora carefully. He'd spent the last 2 days studying Dravik biology, reading everything the galactic database contained. Draviks were reptilian, cold-blooded, with a skeletal structure similar to Earth's dinosaurs. Under his scanner, he saw the problem. Sora's joints were inflamed, attacking themselves. An autoimmune condition. On Earth, we'd call this juvenile arthritis, Tae-yang told Dal. "We treat it in young dogs and cats all the time." He started Sora on a combination of anti-inflammatory medication and gentle physical therapy. Nothing quantum, nothing crystalline, just basic medicine and the understanding that young bodies sometimes attacked themselves and needed help remembering how to heal. Within a week, Sora's scales began to brighten. Within 2 weeks, she was walking without limping. Within 3 weeks, she was running. The second patient was harder. Quan was a Horoth, barely 6 months old. His species was insectoid, with a chitinous exoskeleton and compound eyes. He'd been born with a degenerative neural condition. His nervous system was slowly dying, and Velthari physicians had given him 4 months to live. Dr. Minji, a veterinarian who specialized in exotic insects on Earth, took the lead. She studied Horoth biology, comparing it to Earth beetles, ants, and bees. The nervous systems were remarkably similar. "The degradation is being caused by a lack of a specific enzyme," Minji explained. "His body isn't producing enough of it. In Earth insects, we'd supplement it directly." She synthesized the enzyme using basic chemistry, fed it to Quan in carefully measured doses, monitored his neural activity with equipment designed for studying ant colonies. The degradation stopped, then miraculously reversed. New neural pathways grew. Quan's movements became more coordinated. His compound eyes tracked light properly for the first time. More patients came. A Crix with respiratory failure, a Lumith whose energy field was collapsing, a Sornathi with a cardiac condition. Each one had been declared hopeless by galactic medicine. The human doctors worked around the clock. They used techniques developed for treating Earth's incredible diversity of life. They adapted, improvised, and learned. They didn't save everyone. Some conditions were too advanced. Some patients arrived too late. But the success rate was stunning. 70% of the patients improved. 40% were completely cured. Hyunwoo documented everything. He recorded treatments, outcomes, and techniques. He also documented something else: the financial cost. Galactic treatment for Sora's condition would have cost her family 200,000 credits, he told Tae-yang. "Your treatment cost 800 credits. The medication is simple chemistry available anywhere." "That's why they'll try to stop us," Tae-yang said. He was exhausted, running on coffee and determination. "We're not just challenging their medicine. We're challenging their economy." The challenge came at the 4-month mark. Ralvik arrived with a new patient. The Velthari physician's lights pulsed with something that looked like triumph. "This is Tarl," Ralvek announced. "A Velthari child. She has a condition we call crystal fracture syndrome. Her body's crystalline structure is breaking down. Every Velthari physician in the galaxy has examined her. She is untreatable." Tae Yang looked at the small crystalline being on the stretcher. She was beautiful, even dying. Light flickered weakly through cracks in her translucent body. "You're giving me one of your own species," Tae Yang said. "Why?" "To prove a point," Ralvek said. "You claim your primitive methods work because you understand diversity. But Velthari biology is nothing like Earth biology. We are crystalline, quantum-based beings. There is no Earth animal comparable to us. Save her, and I will publicly acknowledge that Earth medicine has value. Fail, and you admit that your successes were merely luck with compatible biology." It was a trap. Tae Yang knew it. Ralvek was betting that human medicine couldn't help a species so fundamentally different from Earth life. "I'll try," Tae Yang said. He spent 3 days studying Velthari biology. It was unlike anything on Earth. Their bodies operated on principles of quantum coherence and crystalline resonance. They weren't even truly alive in the biological sense. But Tae Yang had treated more than just mammals and insects. He'd studied coral reefs, crystalline structures built by living organisms. He'd researched how damaged coral could be regrown, how broken lattices could be repaired. "Tarl's problem isn't medical," he told his team. "It's structural. Her crystal lattice is fracturing because the quantum frequencies are out of alignment, like a building collapsing because its foundation is cracked." "So how do you fix it?" Minji asked. "The same way you fix a cracked foundation. You stabilize it, then rebuild slowly." Tae Yang couldn't use quantum manipulation. He didn't have that technology. But he had something else, resonance frequency therapy. It was used on Earth to help bones heal faster, using sound waves at specific frequencies. He modified the equipment, adjusting frequencies to match Velthari crystalline structure. Then he bathed Tarl in sound, letting the vibrations stabilize her fracturing lattice. It took 2 weeks. The cracks stopped spreading. New crystal growth appeared at the edges of the fractures. Slowly, impossibly, Tarl began to heal. When she opened her eyes and her internal lights pulsed with full strength, Ralvek stood frozen. "How?" the Velthari physician whispered. "Earth has crystal structures too," Tae Yang said. "We learned to work with them. Not the same way you do, but effectively. Different methods, same goal." Ralvek looked at his daughter, at the human veterinarian who'd saved her, at everything he'd believed about primitive species and superior medicine. "I was wrong," Ralvek said. His lights pulsed with colors Tae Yang's translator identified as humility and shame. "I believed that advanced technology meant advanced medicine, that our methods were universally superior. But you have shown me that medicine is not about the sophistication of tools. It is about understanding the patient." The final council hearing took place 6 months to the day after the challenge began. This time, the chamber was packed, not just with medical professionals but with patients and families. Sora was there, her scales brilliant blue, running circles around her proud father. Kwan's mother held her son, his movements perfect and coordinated. Tarl stood beside Ralvek, her crystalline body whole and strong. The council head surveyed the crowd. "Dr. Tae Yang, the results of your challenge speak for themselves. Of 53 patients declared untreatable, you successfully treated 37. 21 were completely cured. This is unprecedented." "With respect," Tae Yang said, "it shouldn't be unprecedented. These patients weren't untreatable. They were incompatible with standard galactic medicine. There's a difference. What are you proposing?" "A new approach. Comparative medicine. Instead of assuming one treatment model fits all species, we study biological diversity and develop tailored approaches. Earth medicine can contribute, but so can medicine from every world. We share knowledge, not enforce conformity." "This would disrupt the entire medical economy," a consortium representative protested. "Our patents, our licenses, your profits," Hyunwoo interrupted from the gallery. "You're more concerned about credits than lives." The council head raised his hand again. "The Galactic Medical Council recognizes that change is necessary. Dr. Tae Yang, you are authorized to establish the Comparative Medicine Institute. You will have funding, resources, and authority to train practitioners in diverse medical techniques." Ralvek stepped forward. "I wish to be among the first to study at this institute. I have much to learn." Other physicians joined him. Not all, but enough. Species that had been rivals now united by a simple truth. Every patient deserved care appropriate to their biology. 3 months later, Nari stood at the entrance to the new Comparative Medicine Institute. The building was in Sector 7, expanded from Tai Yang's original clinic. The sign above the door read, "All life deserves care" in 50 languages. She was the institute's director now, fully recovered and passionate about the work. Tai Yang led the medical team. Hyunwoo managed research and documentation. Minji headed the training program for new practitioners. "You know what I realized?" Nari said to Hyunwoo as they watched the first class of students enter. "The galaxy called us primitive, said we were barely better than animals, and they were right in a way." "How so?" "Humans never forgot we were animals. We lived alongside thousands of species on Earth. We learned to care for creatures different from us. That diversity of knowledge, that veterinary perspective, made us better physicians than species who only knew how to treat themselves."